We're in the same freaking room. Play that music. Devoid Wrestling Podcast. Devoid Wrestling Podcast. Devoid Wrestling Podcast. Cast it up, Micah and Derrick. Well, get ready for something you will have never wanted to know. You sadly saw it coming, but I guess you should know. Devoid Wrestling Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Devoid Wrestling. We're in the same room.
This is unprecedented, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the view that you're going to be seeing for a while here on Devoid Wrestling.
Yes, the COVID pandemic, it really kept us apart, kept a lot of things apart for a while, but finally myself and Derrick are able to go back to school, so we'll be in the same room for at least the next couple months.
Yeah, and this is going to be the review room. We're going to be watching a hell of a lot of wrestling and telling you how we feel about it. There's a big wrestling event that we definitely felt about.
Yes.
Huge. All Out. We predicted it a while ago. It's been a few weeks now. We've had time to simmer on it, to settle, to let it seep into our bones.
Yes. To sort of get over, the next day hype, because it's like the old metaphor. You know how you go to a bar, you have a couple drinks, and you start saying stuff, and then the next morning you wake up and go, oh, if it's not actually going to happen.
Yeah.
We got over that stage of our reactions. So now we'll be able to give it to you after it's been digested. We've had a couple weeks to sort of figure out where they're trying to go with all this a little bit to an extent. So
yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see what they're trying to do. Well, let's get right into it, shall we? Before we do, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to specifically Devoid here on YouTube. Check us out on all the podcast stuff. Leave a comment. Tell us what your favorite match in All Out was. All right, let's get right into it. The opening contest. We're not going to go over the buy-in because we didn't watch it. Good for the buy-in. The first contest, Miro versus Eddie Kingston for the TNT Championship. James, what are your thoughts?
So Miro versus Eddie Kingston, I thought this was a solid opening match. Two guys that are pretty high mid-carders, duking it out, starting off the pay-per-view. I thought Miro looked impressive, as always. I think I think he has something to prove a little bit, because that was probably the biggest audience they've had up to this point. So, everyone was trying to showcase their abilities, and in the end, Miro came out on top.
And on top of that, Kingston is sort of the biggest opponent Miro has faced in AEW to this point. A lot of his matches for the TNT title have been against guys like Fuego del Sol, who are like a lot smaller and obviously aren't going to beat Miro, or guys like Brian Pillman, who wasn't ready yet for a TNT title, but could do that match. So I think fighting Kingston at All Out was huge for Miro, and I think hopefully after a few nights ago on Rampage, Miro fought Fuego again, but I'm hoping that they're going to return to that soon, because the finish of the match was not a clean finish. It was Miro, doing the low blow to Kingston, causing Kingston to lose. So they got to revisit that at some point, and I think when they do that, they're going to put the title on Kingston.
Yeah, they'll probably end up revisiting it at some point. I agree with you there, and either of those two guys would be respectable TNT champions, so I'm fine with whatever happens.
Yeah. Out of a Dave Meltzer 5 stars, how much do you rate this match?
This match, I would give it a 3.5. It wasn't blowing me away enough to get a 4, but it was above average. It wasn't a 3. I'll give it a 3.5.
I'd say it was a 3.75. I think it was really good for the story and for the sort of little build-up that it had, because there wasn't much build-up to the match. But I think for what it did have, it delivered. Miro and Kingston were both very strong in this match. I think it was a great showing for both of them. All right, up next, the WWE legend, Jon Moxley, taking on the New Japan Pro Wrestling legend, Satoshi Kojima. James, had you seen anything of Kojima before this match?
I had not. This was my introductory experience to Kojima.
How did you feel seeing the leader of the Bread Club in action there?
You know, I thought he moved really well for where he is in his career right now. I thought it was a fantastic match. Moxley is more of a brawler compared to Kojima, who's more of a technical wrestler. So I always love seeing clashing styles in the ring. It made for a really compelling matchup.
Yeah, I think part of the intrigue of this match that I loved was the fact that Kojima wasn't well known to U.S. audiences. I think this sort of exodus of guys from Japan coming over to fight Moxley is really cool to show like the audience what wrestling is like everywhere else in the world, because we can sort of get stuck in our little U.S. bubble, but really Japan has some amazing things to show. The UK has some amazing things to show. Mexico's got great things to show. And underground scenes that are in other countries too. I think like if AEW can keep doing stuff like this, they're going to be the global company.
And it shows like diversity in terms of wrestling styles, but sometimes the styles can like show where they're from.
Yeah.
You know? Like I think in America sometimes we can get caught up in all the suplexes in the world.
Yeah.
But there's many different ways to wrestle.
Yeah, you can tell in Kenny Omega, you can tell that he might wrestle in a more American, North American audience, but you can tell that he is a wrestler who did most of his career in Japan.
Yeah.
On a Dave Meltzer 5 stars, what do you rate this match?
This match, I would say, again, I'll say 3.5, was slightly above average, not enough to get a 4, but it was a solid match.
I agree. I think it did exactly what it was supposed to do, and I think the bigger part of this wasn't the match, but the post-match in which Minoru Suzuki came out and made his presence known. They actually let his theme music play out in full that time. This was also your first time seeing Minoru Suzuki, am I right?
Yes.
What do you think of this guy? I love Minoru Suzuki.
I love Minoru Suzuki. I love, we've had a couple Dynamites to really get to know Minoru Suzuki, and I've loved just the swagger this man has. Like, he's just come over here in his 50s, still as confident as he was when he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see.
I think by the time this airs, it'll already have happened, but I think Mox and Kingston versus Suzuki and Archer is going to be really good on that Rampage.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to that.
All right, the next match, the wrestling alien, Chris Statlander, taking on the wrestling dentist, AEW Women's World Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. James, thoughts?
I mean, going into this match, Britt Baker was untouchable. Britt Baker has really had her grasp on that title for quite some time. Mm-hmm. I didn't see Chris Statlander as someone that was really going to threaten for the title, and I think that turned out right because, Britt Baker ended up winning the match. But this match was good in the sense that it advanced the plot. So now Chris Statlander has had her chance. And if you followed Dynamite, now you know that it's Ruby Soho that is facing Britt Baker, and that feud is really going to be compelling. Where they go with that.
It's what our good friends, the Brainbuster Boys, would call a plot match, where it isn't really about the action in the ring. It's about the story that it's telling. And I think this sort of story of Britt's not as indestructible as you might think is a great story to tell leading into a bigger feud with Ruby, or even down the line with someone like Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer out of 5. I give it a 3. I think it's a fine match. It served its purpose. I just don't think that it was as good as the first 2 matches on the card.
I was going to say the same exact thing. I was going to give it a 3 because it It advanced the plot. It played its role, but it wasn't up to the first two.
James, have you watched the next match yet?
This would be the tag team
This
match.
This would be the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers.
I unfortunately have not watched.
All right, let me tell you about the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers. Easily the best match of the night, by far. This match, crazy plot match and crazy spot match. Like the plot of like the Young Bucks can't get it done without that interference right there. But on top of, they still have the interference, and the Lucha Brothers coming back after those multiple thumbtack super kicks to the face. Like, and then like the story of like Phoenix getting back up and getting that thing going, and then Penta getting it up and going, and then the final whole thing, and then Lucha Brothers winning to this crazy pop and everyone going nuts. I love it, especially because it ended the tag title reign of the Young Bucks.
Yes. Yeah, I think, you know, the Young Bucks have had the title for far too long. It was about time that a new champion was crowned, so the Young Bucks can just kind of take a step back and relax for a little bit. I think they probably want a little bit of a vacation.
Yeah.
Because they've been on the go.
Well, I don't know if they're going to get it. It seems like they're going gung-ho into the trios thing with Adam Cole now that he's back.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I think we were talking about it the other night. AEW has enough trios that they could make a 3-person tag team.
And they probably will soon, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, 3s and 2s would be different divisions. That's unprecedented. I don't think I've heard of that.
No.
Wow.
I give the tag title match of Dave Meltzer 5.5 stars out of 5. It was quite good. Very incredible. I think it was beyond the 5-star barrier for a match. I think best match of the year so far for AEW, personally. But there is still plenty of time left, and that could not even be true by the time this airs because Omega and Danielson is happening on Wednesday. Yeah. All right. The next match was the Women's Casino Battle Royal, 21 women. Ruby Soho making a debut, a surprise debut as the Joker and winning the whole thing. James, what are your thoughts on the Casino Battle Royal?
I thought this was another really good plot advancer. I thought having Ruby Soho come out at the end with the Joker card, being able to get the win at the end, you know? I thought it was a very good match. I liked that the ending showcased Thunder Rosa a little bit. That's a little bit of foreshadowing there. Even though right now it's Ruby Soho and Britt Baker DMD, I think later down the line, either of those two could end up facing Thunder Rosa after their program.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love there are parts where Jade had some good bits, involved a lot of people. Nyla Rose got some good eliminations in there. There's some other things. It was a standard Casino Battle Royal. The format's not great, honestly. But the match itself was fine. It served its exact purpose. And besides like Riho and Shida getting thrown out stupidly early, I think it was a fine match.
Yeah. On the Dave Meltzer scale, I would probably give it a 3.5. And I will go further. What I mean is I would honestly give the match itself a 3, but the Ruby Soho part gets a 0.5 star in my eyes. So I'd give it a 3.5 just because Ruby Soho steals the show at the end and it really advanced the plot. Yeah,
I'd say I'd give it probably 3.25, but for the same reasons that you'd give it 3.5. I'd say the match is 3. The big surprise, I'd say, is at least 1/4 star.
Yeah.
Alrighty. The seemingly 400th time it's happened. Honestly, the most impressive way to make someone going over someone else seem like a huge deal, even though they're a literal legend. Chris Jericho versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman. If Chris Jericho lost, which he did not, if he lost, he would be done in ring for AEW forever. I thought Jericho was going to lose.
Yeah.
I thought this was like building up to Jericho being like, okay, I'm done wrestling. Bye, see ya. But no, he's still going. What do you think?
I was surprised too. I honestly thought Jericho was going to lose and go to WWE, but obviously that did not happen. I thought it was a great match because Chris Jericho is someone we all know, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, someone that is unknown to a lot of the new audience that bought for this pay-per-view. So I thought it was a really good match to showcase what MJF can do, because MJF really is like a young Chris Jericho when he first came in.
Right.
So it was so great to see, you know, a really good heel in MJF go against, at this point, a grizzled veteran in Chris Jericho for his career.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's so impressive how, like, Chris Jericho, 21, they were able to build this story where he was the underdog against the, like, 23-year-old. Like, that is the way you could do that in storytelling somehow is, like, so incredible.
The fact that Jericho had to go through the labors of Jericho, which if you have not watched, go watch some of the labors of Jericho, specifically the second one, the death match.
Nick Gage. Yeah. The Hoovy match is pretty fun, too. The Juventud Guerrera match.
Yes. Yeah, that was a fun one.
Out of a Dave Meltzer 5 stars, I'd give this probably 4.
Yeah. I would say I think 4 is a good rating, too.
Yeah.
It was a really good match. I wouldn't say it was dragged out. It was longer than most of the matches before, and the finish was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go watch it. It's a decent match.
The first time in 7 years since Royal Rumble 2014, where he famously walked out of WWE because of his creative direction, CM Punk makes his return to wrestling, defeating Darby Allin. Now, Punk was, of course, going to win here.
Yes.
That was obvious.
It was in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was in Chicago.
It was his first match after, like, 7 years wrestling again. Of course he was going to win. Was Darby the right person to lose?
You can argue either way.
Yeah, that's Was he? It depends on how they want to use Darby going forward. I think it is a good idea, because I think they're going to return to that down the line.
Yes.
To have Darby go over Punk.
I think that was a good first program for Punk. Better than him facing a member of Team Taz as his first match back.
I don't know. I'm very excited for Punk and Hobbs on Wednesday. I think that match is going to be killer.
Yeah.
Wednesday, or is it on Friday?
I think
this coming week.
Friday.
Yeah, this week at some point. Hobbs and Punk is going to be a really good match, I think.
Yeah. I mean, both episodes coming up this week are going to be great.
But in ring, Punk didn't lose a step.
No. You know, I think he definitely could have taken more chances. I think he played it safe a lot, but for the most part, you know, he still has his mobility. And that's what goes on a lot of older wrestlers after they've been away from the ring.
And that's how you could tell someone's getting up there to his mobility, which is like why when Sting wrestles, it's still so incredible. Because Sting hasn't lost his mobility, and he's 62.
Yeah, he can still move. He can still jump off the ropes.
That match was him and Darby, whatever they had, where it was like Sting's first match back. That was like incredible.
Yeah, it was great. And this match between Punk and Darby was pretty cool. I like the story they told.
Great story, a lot of awesome spots. You know, at the end of the day, it's Punk being Punk and Darby being Darby. And how much better can you get than that? I'm going to give this a 4.5 on a Dave 5.
I'm going to give it a 4 1/4. I think it was a really good match. I would say, just because I haven't seen the tag match, it was the best on the card that I'd seen up to that point. But I felt CM Punk could have taken more chances, and I'm excited to see him take more chances going forward.
Yeah. Perhaps the biggest signing from WWE in AEW's history. Wouldn't you say, James?
Oh, it is the biggest by measurement.
Yeah.
For sure.
Size, at least.
Yes.
We're, of course, talking about No More BS Paul White, who took on QT Marshall and what some describe to be a match.
Yeah. Some people called this a match. I don't know if I'd call it a match.
It sure was the Big Show versus QT Marshall, wasn't it?
I think my favorite small detail is the fact that AEW hired the same guy for the theme song to just go, well,
right? It saves me the trouble of having to change the podcast theme song. No, but seriously, like it served its purpose. It was the cool down match before. I wouldn't even say it was a cool down match before it was the main event match. I'd say it was a cool down match before what happened after the main event match.
Yes.
In match scaling, I'd give it like a 2 out of a Meltzer 5.
Yeah.
Big Show did the Big Show things. He choke slammed, punchy, you know.
There was nothing technical about this.
No. And hey, at least we're looking forward to Big Show facing that young up and comer Billy Gunn.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
All right. Main event match.
Yes,
which wasn't the main event of the show. The main event match: Kenny by God Omega versus Christian Cage for the All Elite Wrestling World Championship.
And this is just coming off Christian Cage winning the Impact title from Kenny Omega
on the premiere Dynamite. Not Dynamite, Rampage.
Yes, on the first episode of Rampage.
You know, it was a good match. Like,
it was.
The match itself was great. Kenny and Christian, they're both very good wrestlers. They're both main eventing All Out for a reason. You know?
Yeah, and Christian, has proven the doubters wrong because Christian can still go through a 20-25 minute match. A lot of guys his age can't.
Yeah. I think something Christian, I was confused when they were booking it, but I think something Christian does really well in Fuse is when it comes to the really big match, building off of the other matches in that feud. I think that's why Christian likes to have matches with people he's in feuds with before the big one.
Yeah.
Like, I think the cool thing about the All Out match was that there was a good amount of callbacks to the Rampage match for the Impact title. I thought that was really cool, and that's where Christian really strives.
Yeah, I thought this was a spectacular match. The whole way through, there were just a lot of really good spots. It was two experts in the ring. Kenny Omega, arguably the best wrestler in the world today, actually voted number 1 in the PWI, right?
Yeah.
So, I would say Kenny Omega and Christian Cage, not as young as he once was, but still a veteran with mobility that will give you a run for your money if you're not careful. So it was great. I would give, honestly, I would give the entire segment as a whole a 5. But the match itself was a 4.5.
I was gonna give the match itself a 4 3/4. I think it was that good. I think it also served its purpose perfectly, which was a main event that's not too big because of what's about to happen.
Yes.
So after the match, Kenny Omega grabs a microphone and he basically says, "I'm the best wrestler in the world. Anyone who might be better than me is gone somewhere else or already dead," which I didn't realize at the time, but that was an absolute reference to Adam Cole, because in being the Elite canon, Adam Cole is dead.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Adam Cole's, and everyone goes nuts, and he does the Adam Cole baby. And did you think he was going to join them or turn on them when he first came out?
When he first came out, I thought he was going to turn on them just because I am so used to WWE and how they book things. So I thought that this was going to be the classic, let's bring out someone you're not expecting and just put them in the position of someone that everyone wants.
Yeah. That person usually being Bryan Danielson, Bryan.
Yeah, I thought it was a fake out. I thought that they weren't going to do Bryan Danielson. So in the moment, I was disappointed just because I didn't think it was going to happen. But then
I thought it was so funny when Adam Cole hugged them all, because I was like, he's just their friend again.
Yeah.
But so then Kenny Omega goes to do the all right, goodbye, bang bang, and then of course you hear, and everyone goes nuts. Bryan Danielson comes on out. Do you think they're trying to get rid of the yes chants? because they haven't acknowledged them.
Interesting. I don't know. I feel like they almost have to, in a way. I don't think they're going to be able to go away from it just because that's such a part of his character. It would be like trying to take away what from Austin, you know? Like
Sure.
If he went to a different promotion, they wouldn't just take it away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can try, but I think they'll be unsuccessful. They should really capitalize on that because of how popular it is.
Yeah, I think you could tell they want them to be chanting his old chant, that you're going to get your fucking head kicked in chant.
Yeah.
Which I'll chant, gladly. That's an awesome chant. But, you know, they put it in the song, I think, because they want people to hear it and start chanting with it and everything. But I also think that's a product of the fact that we're not going to see much of Daniel Bryan. We're going to be seeing Bryan Danielson, Ring of Honor, kick your fucking head in type of Daniel Bryan.
Yes, and that is a version of Bryan Danielson that a lot of casual viewers like myself haven't seen. So.
Yeah, the best glimpse you guys kind of got of that was his heel run in 2018-2019 with the WWE title.
Yeah.
Because the way he changed his wrestling style, then he got way more aggressive with like his kicks and punches and shit.
Yeah.
This ending segment itself, out of a Dave Meltzer 5, what do you rate that ending part?
I would rate that ending part a 5.5.
I rated a fucking 6, man.
Yeah.
Legitimately one of the craziest endings in wrestling.
I would argue that moment is probably the biggest event to happen in pro wrestling in 5 years. It is very like NWO formation-esque.
I think I'm very confident in saying that I think this moment is going to be the moment of Bryan Danielson joining AEW is going to be looked in a similar light as Hogan joining the NWO. I think this is that one big megastar. Boom. We've got something now. Because they've got the biggest star in wrestling in the past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
You'd say Daniel Bryan's the biggest star in the past 10 years?
At his peak. Yes.
At his peak. 2014 wasn't even 10 years ago,
No.
And that was when Daniel Bryan blew up, got crazy, WrestleMania 30, which we'll be hitting with you next episode of the Devoid Wrestling Podcast. That's it. We are done for today. James, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans before we close out today?
I just want to say prepare. This is the first of many. So turn your notification bells on and stay tuned.
Yeah. I've been me. You've been you. 2 weeks. WrestleMania 30.